everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Corridor Conversations. Once again, I'm your host, Kurt Strauss, President and CEO of the Iowa Lakes Corridor, and I'm extremely excited to have two outstanding guests in the studio with me today. One of them you're going to recognize, 18-year veteran with the Corridor BRE coordinator, Joanne Follon, and special guest here with us today from Iowa Economic Development, Matt Kodis. Matt, thank you for making the trip up today.
Yeah, thanks. Having the first time up here, so really good to be up here. So
See,
about time.
First time up there. Everybody hear that? First time up for Matt Kodis from IEDA. Our goal is always to get our state reps up here to see all the good things that are happening up here. And we're extremely excited, one, to dig into both of your guys' expertise. But a lot of times our listeners on the street hear us talk about an acronym, BRE. And, a lot of times people look at us, they may put their eyebrows up like, what is BRE? Well, as we know, BRE is an acronym for Business Retention and Expansion. And we're going to dig into that a little bit on what it means from a local regional standpoint, which means a lot to us from our organization. But more importantly, we always talk about the questions and the input and the partnership from IEDA and Iowa Economic Development Authority and how you guys utilize that information down from the state perspective. So we're extremely excited to do that today, and it's going to be a great conversation. Our listeners are going to learn a lot, both on the professional side from what you guys can provide, but more importantly, just understanding what BRE is. So before we get started, I got to give a huge shout out. Your counterpart, Debbie Durham, was up here not too long ago, and I know she recommended the chai tea, right?
Yes, she did.
So Meddler Coffee, our sponsor, did you go with the chai?
I did go with the chai. I'm a tea guy normally, so it's like, need a tea. You do not want this on too much caffeine. So, like chai, hot chocolate, if I'm really, really desperate, a cortado. But
there we go.
Chai today.
So based on Debbie Durham's recommendation, chai tea for you today.
Absolutely.
And, I'm not a huge coffee drinker either. However, Meddler Coffee is amazing. So it's hard to ever say no to that. But we were just talking before we went on set here. We had a meeting this morning as well down in Storm Lake, one of our member communities, and we had a coffee meeting there as well. So we're just totally jacked up on caffeine today, ready to rock and roll this episode and talk about BRE. So what'd you get today, Joe?
Me? Today? Nutty Irishman.
All righty.
So going with the Irish theme today, since it's St. Patty's Day.
It is St. Patty's Day today. Nobody's even wore green.
Just my little bit of green. My little bit of green here.
That is awesome. So huge shout out to Meddler Coffee, our sponsor for Corridor Conversations, and Carrie and Heather Belgrave. Thanks for your support in making this episode possible. So speaking of our sponsor, Meddler Coffee, we always do a little icebreaker. And you guys don't have any idea what this question is. Hey, Matt, I gave you an opportunity. Did you want to know what the icebreaker? He's like, no, I don't want anything to do with what it is. Bring it on. Let's make it a surprise. So same question for both of you, because you both kind of wear the role of BRE in different aspects. So what is your favorite aspect of your job? And Matt, being the guest today, I want to let you take the lead. What's the favorite aspect of you with the state and BRE?
I'm the research nerd, so I'm the numbers guy, I'm the data nerd, and I get to learn something new every day and put that out for public use for folks. So I'm spreadsheet nerd, data guy. I'm one of those people that gets really excited when the census comes every 10 years and I get to fill that out.
All right.
Love getting to learn something new and putting that to use. So.
See, it takes all kinds to make this world go round, to be honest with you. That's cool. I've never heard of somebody who looks so forward to the census, but I appreciate that.
We'll get into that.
Here in a little bit. All right, Joanne, what is your favorite part of your job? And be careful, because you got two coworkers sitting right here too. So
favorite part of my job, my background is in human resources, so I'm a people's person. I love people. I love to get to meet people. I love to really dig in and understand people. So this is great for me because I get the opportunity every day to meet new people and businesses and how they grow, and that's the best part of my job.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, that's cool. It is a relationship business, and you guys are both really, really talented at meeting people. But with BRE, there's a lot of trustworthy, relationships that are there based on the confidentiality and the amount of data that we get into. So let's talk BRE, business retention and expansion. I'll take, maybe the listener back here real quickly. My first job in economic development, we were all encompassing as far as an economic development office. I had to do everything, including BRE. And every year, I remember when our utility partners came to me and said, Kurt, here's your list of 15 businesses I need you to get into and gather information. I'd look at that and I'm like, that is a daunting task because I know how long the interviews take. I know the questions that are there, the input of the information back from a local and then back to a state level. It's a daunting task. I don't think people really understand how much time a successful BRE program is. So I want to just start. I'm going to start with Joe first because I'm going to kind of rotate this around. You got the icebreaker, but explain maybe to the listener in your version, Joe, what BRE visits are and really ultimately why they matter.
Oh, BRE visits. We have existing businesses within our 4-county region, and these are businesses that are really embedded in our communities. They're invested in our communities. And so these are the businesses that are already here. Their employees, their staff is already here. And so from an economic development standpoint, those are individuals that we really want to connect with. We want to develop trust, confidentiality with those businesses. We want to have a clear understanding of what makes those businesses tick, what resources they're looking for, what we can do from a local level and also a state level to help those businesses grow within our region.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that as well is, number one, it helps our locals get in touch with their big employers on a regular basis so that we eliminate the element of surprise there for folks. And we can learn what those needs are so that if a business is having issues with filling jobs or needs room to expand or they need help with the city or the county or something along those lines.
Or training.
Or training. This is an
Exactly.
outlet for them confidentially to say, hey, can you help us with this?
Exactly.
And so that's at the very micro base level. And then for us at the macro level, at the state level for us, this helps us sort of determine, taking all of those visits into consideration, what are those needs that we're hearing on the ground across the state, all corners of the state, and what their needs are, and what programs can we implement at the state level to help address those needs as well. So a lot of the programs that we're now running at the state, and we may get into this later, a lot of the programs that we have at the state level came as a result of the data that we got back from those BRE visits.
Okay, great.
Yeah, 100%. As we go out and we're talking to our key stakeholders, Matt, from across our 4 counties, we talk about the importance of BRE. Everything you just got done saying, like, if we want to make a difference from a programming standpoint, if we want to provide programs from a state and a regional, even a local level to assist you, we need to know this type of information. It goes right back down into the legislative session, which we're in right now, to help continue that important funding for those programs to help and assist. So that's great. And, maybe from a state level, Joanne kind of mentioned it from a local level. A lot of it's going to overlap, Matt, so not a lot can be a change. I mean, you guys provide us a list of questions that so maybe speak to that. I mean, because we have our local questions that we want to get to our companies, but maybe speak to the state perspective on how you guys decide what questions need to be asked at a local level.
Yeah, so very, very base level stuff to start. What type of industry are you in? Because that helps us figure out, okay, is this mix lining up with the mix of industry around the state and those jobs, like in the manufacturing industry, for instance, where there is that flywheel effect of the wages tend to be higher in the manufacturing industry and thus help support more local jobs within other industries in retail, leisure and hospitality, things of that nature. Are you expanding or are you thinking about downsizing potentially? Have you had any management changes? Because that can help get out in front of, are they thinking about making some changes, this company, or are they thinking about leaving? That's the retention key of it. And then a lot of other questions line up with some of the things that we have at the state level. Are you thinking about making investments in things like machinery, equipment? Are you thinking about hiring more people potentially? What are the issues that you're running into in terms of workforce or exports, things of that nature. That helps feed into our export team. Those management changes, that feeds into our employee stock ownership program, which helps retain businesses in the state and helps them plant deep roots here, and they're likely to stay here. So things of that nature that feed into our programs, but also what are some things that we may be missing? Those free comments that we'll get at the end sometimes, they will help us figure out what is a gap that we have in our programming that needs to be filled right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we talk about economic development and growth, and there's a lot of different aspects to that, which we talk about all the time. And business retention and expansion, BRE, is a key part of everything that you guys have got done saying. But one of the things, Matt, we talk about in our office, and I know Debbie talks about a lot at the States, is 80% they estimate right now, right? 80% of all growth, community growth, comes from our existing industry or businesses that are here today. So to be able to understand how to support that growth, would you agree that these BRE visits, and Joe, look, you guys can talk about this, are absolutely essential to understanding where those growth opportunities are, but maybe more importantly, where those pinch points are that are preventing opportunities?
100%. I mean, you said, I had that stat in the back of my head ready to go, that 80% of the projects that come to our board that got high quality jobs tax credits, they're now going to get business incentives for growth tax credits and incentives. They're coming from existing companies in the state. The attraction bit of it, that's sexy, that gets a lot of press, but the bread and butter of what comes to our board, that comes from existing businesses that are already here. I mean, just look at some of the projects around the state that we approved in our February board meeting. Arconic, for instance, out in Davenport, they're already here and they're going to be expanding. Vermeer down in Pella, equipment manufacturing, just one of those core industries for the state. They're already here. So to your point, 80% of those projects that come to our board, that is the attraction bit. And it's that the retention bit. The attraction bit is nice. That's great. But for most of our communities, we want to make sure that those anchor employers are continuing to choose Iowa in the future for years to come.
Yeah, great. And Joe, would you agree from a local, regional standpoint as we're going out and doing our visits? And in 2025, I think you conducted 117 individual visits across the region. Based on what Matt's saying from state level, we seen that here at a local level too?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. And one thing I really want to stress is I think we've built those relationships over the years. So when we do call and we do want to meet with our local businesses, they open the door to us. I mean, they are willing to sit down and meet with us. Lots of times, Kurt, you and I go as a team. They know the information they share with us is strictly confidential. And they know that we are there as a resource. So we feel really fortunate that our businesses are as open and cordial with us as they are. But yeah, definitely, I think they look to the corridor as a resource for them for growth.
Yeah, and a confidential resource because they know that as a nonprofit, 501c6 nonprofit, that we can safeguard confidential information. But most importantly, we can then take that back to our investing stakeholders, our cities and counties, as we need to discuss maybe most importantly what those pinch points are. But hey, we're looking at a potential expansion project here in 1 year, and there's an infrastructure need that we need to get in front of before we can even facilitate that. So
I think one of the other nice bits about the BRE survey as well, compared to a lot of existing surveys, whether that is someone like the Iowa Business Council, their survey is fantastic, but it's the 30 largest employers in the state.
Yeah.
So you aren't getting into that supply chain, for instance. One other nice bit that I really like about this survey, it's going to be a quicker turnaround than some of the data that we'll get from the Census Bureau or the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is great, and it goes through a quality check process as well. But the speed of it is really imperative sometimes for us. So.
Good.
So as we talk about BRE and we get into the nitty gritty and we're setting up appointments, I mean, could you guys share some insight on what those visits actually look like? I mean, maybe from the onset of, your strategy of getting in front of somebody, is how that reach out happens. You sit across the table from somebody, how that meeting is executed, maybe what your strategy inside of that looks like as far as getting the information out that we can be able to utilize.
So I have a spreadsheet.
See, here we go. Old school
I'm an
spreadsheet.
Excel
I love it.
spreadsheet kind of person. Every year I review those visits. Every year I will add to my spreadsheet new businesses. And so initially I put together a letter. We rebranded our program a couple years ago, and it is the growth program now. And
it's crazy to think that with the new state incentive being the growth program, it's almost like it was meant to be, right?
I know
it's almost like it was
I
meant
know
to
it.
be.
So the acronyms for that, it is an acronym for gather. Help me out here, Kurt.
Oh, geez. Relationships, opportunities, wins, trends,
and hometown.
Hometown.
Is what
growth
it stands
acronym.
for.
Yep.
And really, everything our strategic plan really stresses. So we really want to confidentially meet with the top leadership, and we really want to develop those relationships, and we want to look for those opportunities, growth opportunities, expansion opportunities, any opportunity that we can help them with as far as training and whatnot. And then we really want to celebrate any wins that they are able to do. And then any trends like you track at the state level. We can also look at trends at the local level. And then hometown, really stressing our great communities that these businesses live in. So we initially send out an email, and we attach that survey to it with your 10 questions as well as our questions. We ask them to complete that survey in advance. That is what will give us the correct information that we can relay back to the state, and we can do our reporting on. And then we sit down with them. We schedule a meeting at their convenience, and we sit down with them. We kind of go through the survey, but then we really sit and we listen to the businesses. It's more about listening to what they have to tell us. It's not about just going in there, controlling the dynamic. I think it's really offering the availability that, hey, we're here to listen. You tell us what's going on in your business confidentially, and we'll see where we can possibly help you or what resources we can possibly provide for you.
I was going to say, next time we come and create a program at the state level, we're coming to you guys for the acronym. So between big, mega, we've had, it's like, what do we name the next thing? So I'm coming to you guys. But that's exactly right, and that's exactly, we are there mainly to listen to companies at the end of the day. And this is a really nice forum, a nice opportunity for companies confidentially to say, hey, we're having issues with this. How can you help us out with it? I know at the state level, when we're looking at what companies do we want to make sure that folks get out and interview around the state, we're looking at, number one, what companies have come to us for incentives over the past 3 years, typically. And then we work closely with our utility partners, Mid-American Energy, Alliant Energy, Black Hills Energy, and then Iowa Area Development Group, which helps represent some of your municipal electricity providers, to say, hey, who are your largest load customers that come in? And that's what we use as a basis to help determine what companies we want our local partners like you guys to interview in your service areas.
Yeah, that used to be the old synchronous program. Again, I'm going to get out of space with our listener, but the synchronous program really was focused around those utility providers, providing that list of companies based on load growth and load opportunities and current capacity to make sure we're getting in and talking to them. So that's great. Appreciate your guys' insight on that. I mean, so what, as we're gathering this information, what are we looking at? What are some of the common themes right now that businesses across the state and locally and regionally are really sharing with us?
Well, I think last year, and most of our companies knew in advance that the tariffs were coming. And so that was a huge issue for some and not such a big issue for others. So it was kind of all over the board. Our companies knew in advance, and most of them were able to make adjustments in advance of those tariffs. Some of them got hit pretty hard. I think a lot of expansion plans were all put on hold, some due to interest rates, which, depending on the type of business it was, greatly affected some. And so I think most of our businesses are ready for growth now. They've got some positive expectations going forward. And I think they're just in that wait and see mode. But as soon as things completely turn around here, I think they're ready to expand.
Yeah, and you're exactly right about, we saw that in our statewide data as well. We have a question on, are you experiencing issues with international regulatory barriers or getting your product to international markets? And it was pretty steady, pretty flat all through 2024 into Q1 of 2025. Then Liberation Day happens, and we see a pretty big spike. It came back down a little bit, Q3, Q4, but it was still elevated at that level. Other things that we have heard from partners around the state, housing. I'm actually stunned for ages. Pre-COVID, post-COVID, workforce was always the number one issue when it came to help me find workers. I'm having trouble finding workers. Right. Housing has overtaken workforce as the issue that employers are most concerned about. And rightly so, I think. If I'm looking at the median year that a house was built in Iowa was 1973. So more than half of your housing in the state was built before then. And so we need to make sure that we are updating our existing housing stock with renovations, things of that nature. But that's just to keep the number in place. If we want growth in the future, we need to make sure that we are building more housing. And between this and building permit survey data from the census, those are two things I'm really keeping an eye on to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for growth in the future, especially with some of the challenges that the construction industry faced after 2009 that they're still recovering from.
And daycare.
Yes.
Daycare has come front and center for our region. So, that's a big issue.
Yep.
So we talk about BRE, the initiatives that we're hearing as pinch points. We talk about the housing, we talk about the workforce and the child care. For organizations like us, Matt, I mean, we utilize that information ultimately to build out our strategic plan and vision on the things that we need to work on. So as we're talking publicly to our key stakeholders and, why are we working on workforce initiatives? Well, because we need to. Why are we working on specifically trying to address housing and getting developers to come? Well, because we need to recruit workforce in and childcare, all of the things. So every time we're talking, right, Joe, and we look at our team too and our board, we're putting out new initiatives, Matt, it's really built off of our findings from BRE. It's what our existing businesses are telling us, because that is where 80% of our growth lies.
And they're all tied together.
Yes.
Every one of them are tied together. So
absolutely. And, we talk about workforce as well. One of the cool parts of my job is I get to sit in on unemployment rate pre-release meetings. So I get to see what the rate is before the public does and get to go into the nitty-gritty detail of some of that. And we had labor force participation growth in 2025 last year. That's fantastic. Yes, but a decent chunk of that was folks 65 and older coming back into the workforce, which is great in the short term, but we want something sustainable for the long term. That's come down a little bit in the back half of the year, but it really validates a lot of the workforce concerns that we're hearing from our employers as well. So,
and I've heard most recently from a few employers where they've had individuals that did go into retirement, but then chose to come back. So you've got that type of a worker too, which is good, like you point out, but it isn't sustainable long term.
Yes.
So.
And so then we go all the way back and we talk to the beginning of this episode. The legislative priorities when we go down and we're lobbying for programs to help support these needs. And we'll use, for housing, for example, workforce housing tax credits.
Yes.
So massive program, heavily supported there. I think we've had a tax credit program or application accepted in each one of our 4 counties over the last 2 or 3 years, each one of our counties have been a recipient of that. One of the things we're making a push for this year, actually it's been the last couple of years, is the current pool of funding for that program is $35 million. And we're making a push, and Debbie said it here too a couple weeks ago, of trying to make that push up to $50 million to help subsidize some of the more projects that are there. Good projects. Not all the projects are good, but to make sure that we're helping move that needle a little bit. So
yeah, 100%. And with regard to the housing component of that, one of the other parts of my job is I get to look at census building permit data at the county level all around the state to see what do we want to set our caps at for workforce housing tax credit applicants, for what is the max amount that you can go to build that. And we've just seen over the course of really since 2022, when we had big time inflation in the economy, that those costs have been pushed up over the past 3 years, whether that is workforce getting paid more, materials costing more, things like lumber, for instance. So it's something that we certainly take into consideration, and it makes sense for an increased amount of funding there, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So from a state level, what do you see as the perfect? You may not be able to answer this question because sometimes I think on the spot and I ask weird questions sometimes. So if you can't answer, just say, "Kurt, I can't answer that question." What's the perfect mix of representation at a BRE meeting?
Ooh.
Like, who should be at the table?
I would like senior management of some sort to be in that meeting, whether that is your president, CEO, or whether it is, if you're interviewing someone from a larger corporation, a plant manager, for instance, someone who knows the nuts and bolts, the day-to-day of how that plant, that business operates, because they're going to have line of sight to what are we thinking about for the future of this location, whether that is adding a shift or whether that is challenges that they're running into, whether that is supply chain, workforce, what have you, room to expand, adding a shift. But that's who I want. And of course, you're a local partner, obviously. So I'm really looking for, when we are looking at BRE interviews, I think that plant manager or that operations head or that CEO who has line of sight to the operations side and the financial side and sort of the strategy side going forward as well.
So a decision maker.
Yes.
Essentially. What about the local level? I mean, can you have too many in the room? Just from we got, people that are just wondering like how it's constructed. We know it works for us, but like what from a state level, what's that perfect?
I mean, I'm thinking like 2, 1, 2, 3, I think is the ideal number, because you do want to protect that confidentiality.
Yep.
I grew up in a small town too, guys. I know that it is a sieve sometimes when it comes to gossip.
Yeah.
So I think if you keep that circle tight, that tends to buy more trust with that local employer as well.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good info. And it's always, it's a lot of visits, and so having that collaborative piece to get in and construct those over time is huge. So, all right, Joe, 117 visits in 2025.
Right.
So many visits.
So fun.
So many.
So fun.
Yes.
So fun. I mean, it's a lofty number, and it takes a lot of time, and you do a great job. 18 years of facilitating that, and you can do that in your sleep at this point. But maybe speak to that load of 117 and how you manage it, and maybe what some of the inside secrets of a really good, successful BRE program are in your eyes.
Secrets. I don't have any secrets.
Without giving away the secret sauce.
An open book.
Right.
But it is a lot. It is a lot. And I have a tendency to, Kurt knows, challenge myself every year to improve and grow on that. Back in the day, we were doing maybe 20, 25, and we've grown it immensely. Secrets. I don't know. I don't know if there's any secrets other than just developing those relationships. I mean, I am available whenever they're available. I work according to what their schedule is. Um, um, I I rarely have a business that turns me down. I mean, I may have a business that says, boy, we're going to have to pass this year because we're just swamped. We're really busy. And really nothing has changed from the previous year. I respect that. And I will just roll it into the next year and we'll hit them hard the next year. But as a rule, I don't have too hard of a time getting those appointments set up. Yeah, it's a pretty smooth process.
Well,
I think I've done it so long.
It speaks to the good work that you guys do up here in reaching out to your employers. I think you guys have the most interviews of any of our rural participants in the program, if I recall correctly. So there's a couple metro ones that have more, but I mean, you guys are also dealing with a much smaller population here as well.
Yeah,
so
Cedar Rapids has a great program. I know we've met with them on
Cedar Rapids, Dubuque, Greater Des Moines Partnership is a really active participant, but Greater Des Moines Partnership is almost 1 million people that are in their service area. So I think it speaks to the relationship you guys have with your local businesses and the trust that you've built up personally, Joanne, Kurt, over the years of getting in and maintaining that confidentiality, but also acting on what you heard from those businesses as well. So kudos to both of you.
Right.
Yeah, we're ramping up our visitation schedule for 2026 right now. I think we got our hit list. We've set some goals, and we've started. I mean, Joanne's been out. I know we got another one tomorrow afternoon with potentially a new business. We're a 501c6, like I mentioned before, Matt. So a lot of what we do is supported by our local business and industry too. So tomorrow we got a great visit with a new company that potentially looking at expansion in the area, which is exciting.
Great.
And also a potential business that's interested in investing and doing what we're doing for economic development in Northwest Iowa. So those are exciting conversations too that we look forward to.
And I think, part of it too, when we do those visits, it gives us the opportunity to get in front of those companies and really talk about our annual report, talk about our programs that we have and how our programs are supporting their business. So I think it's a real easy sell for our businesses to really understand exactly what we do. So,
So obviously we have a pretty active BRE program. The state's very active in engaging that. I mean, any recommendations maybe for a community out there listening right now that maybe doesn't have an active BRE program, Matt? Like, what's a good first step for them to get started? Obviously, you can find an existing organization like ours, but maybe what do you have for advice for them?
Reach out. Please send me an email, matthew.kodis@iowaeda.com. Kodis is Kodis. Please reach out. We have that list of companies ready to go for you to talk to, and just making that effort, honest to God. One of the reasons that we went away from the annual model with a hard, fast deadline of you must have your interviews in by Labor Day.
30th. September 30th.
Yes, by Labor Day, September 30th every year, was that we know that there are busy times for businesses and there are slow times. I think with flattening the calendar and making this more of a rolling program now, we now get a much more steady stream of interviews over the course of the year, and it eliminates some of that seasonality that we see of, there's nothing coming in January, February, March versus everything is coming in July, August, and September. So now it flattens that out, and we get to see, make those quarter over quarter, year over year comparisons, but also get a more steady flow now as well, instead of everything being backloaded into which, have you tried getting a hold of anybody in state government or even locally around Clay County Fair here, obviously, or state fair? Like, I'm off baking pies and entering stuff at the fair, guys. Like, good luck. But that steady stream now makes such a difference. So means more work for me. Means I've got a little bit more to do. But I would rather have it on that cycle now as well.
And one thing we did this last year was we did add our schools as
Yes.
well to our BRE program. We have 12 schools within the 4-county region of the Ivy Lakes corridor. And we sat down with superintendents and we listened. They have many of the same issues that our businesses do as well. And so one of the things that has come out of that is the Build My Future event that we are holding in the 4-county region. So, and that's something that is connecting our schools and our students with our businesses, planting those seeds for future workforce. So, yeah, it was all good.
And that's huge for you guys as well, because those are going to be those folks that are going to be working here in the future, that are going to be coming out of high school and going into CTE programs, or are going to be taking CTE classes at the local high school or the local community college, or they're going to be going down to BVU and staying here in the region afterwards.
Or
so that's
go off to Iowa State or something, and then we want them to know that we do have something here back home in the corridor region. So.
Yeah, no, that's really smart, and that's one of the first instances I've heard statewide of folks doing that, and that's really, really good thinking on your guys' part.
Yeah, so communities across the state looking at uploading, starting a new BRE program, reach out to Matt. He'd be a great resource from you. Contact information will be shared. Feel free to reach out to us as an organization. Joe's got a lot of, over 18 years of experience of running a BRE program. Happy to share some of those secrets. So last question for you, because I want to let you, we got to use the expertise since we're having you
Bring
here.
it on.
If there's a company out there statewide, doesn't even have to be in the region, that's maybe hesitant on doing a BRE visit, what kind of advice would you have for them to maybe encourage them?
Everything stays confidential with us. I cannot stress that enough. From BRE visits to census programs, IWD programs, if you ever get a call for the unemployment rate for their surveys, confidentiality is just absolutely drilled into us in terms of protecting that information. What we say or what we hear in those interviews, that stays there. And we will not disseminate any of that, even at the federal level. They will actually not publish information sometimes if one company, controls a majority of employment in an industry for something like that. Dubuque and insurance comes to mind, for instance, or Cedar Rapids and insurance, or if you try to look them up on a federal government website, how many folks are employed in the insurance industry, you will not be able to find it because one company controls the majority of that in the Cedar Rapids metro. So we take confidentiality so seriously. We actually went away from synchronous to BRE from seeing individual responses. So Joanne is the only person that knows, and you are the only folks that know who you've gone out and interviewed. I don't see those individual responses.
Right.
So I look at it at the macro level and adding everything together. But Joanne and Kurt are the ones who are going to be able to help with your individual concerns at the local level.
Yeah, and all the data, Joe, as you know, that we report out is all aggregated data.
It's all
too.
aggregated.
So nothing is pointed out. So high level of confidentiality, but all that information is vital for us to do work in economic development, both local, regional, and across the state of Iowa.
Building trust at the end of the day.
For sure.
Yep.
Well, this has been a great conversation, and I know we could talk BRE for hours on end, and I'm sure the listener would tag along the whole time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Spreadsheets, whatever. But maybe to close it down, I'll give you both the opportunity to maybe any last thoughts that you'd like to share that maybe we hadn't let the listener know at this point.
Joanne, I'll let you start off.
Oh, wow. Well, if there's any businesses that are out there that currently are not working with the Ivy Lakes corridor, I'd like to personally invite them to reach out to either myself, Kurt, or anyone in the office. We'd be happy to meet with them. We'd be happy to confidentially sit down, see how we can work together in the future.
Yeah, I was going to say, your tax dollars go out and support our work. We thank you for that. We have to be able to serve you effectively at the end of the day. You guys help pay my salary and my mortgage at the end of the day. So please pay them by April 30th at the state level. So just know that we are here to serve you as well. And we want to make sure, and we really put an emphasis on making sure that we provide excellent responsive service at the state level to what businesses' needs are all around the state. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email IEDA or reach out or give us a call, and we will do the best of our ability to help get you connected with the right person to help you with what you need to know.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's the first time ever people have taken the opportunity for a final thought to say thank you to the taxpayer.
Really?
But
Truly, though.
That was truly heartfelt. I can tell that, and that is awesome. That is true.
It's the service bit of public service. I'm a public servant at the end of the day.
100%, 100%. But oh, this is great. Hey, cheers. We'll do cheers to Debbie and the chai tea. Thanks
cheers.
To
thank you, guys.
And our awesome sponsor, Carrie and Heather Belgrave. And Matt, appreciate you coming up here today.
Yeah.
Spending a little time with Joanne and I and the team from the Iowa Lakes Corridor and learning about all things BRE. So, but I hope you have a safe trip back down to Des Moines and say hi to all the great team members down there.
Yeah, thanks for having me up here. Thanks for inviting me up here.
No, absolutely. So thanks, Matt. Joe, thanks for your time today as well. And that'll wrap up another episode of Corridor Conversations. Again, I'm your president and CEO, Kurt Strouth of the Iowa Lakes Corridor. And until next time, talk to you later. Thank you.